Okay, a good tavach everyone. As we were in a good Chodesh, as we welcome in Stephen Holtzman, A.B. Spry, Saba, Irving Fishbaum, Dr. Matthew Guy, Adi Chazan, Yitzi Muller, Avi Ament, Michal, Yisrael Fisher, Aaron Swade, Mordechai Sultan, Mel Zachter, Nachman Yemansky, Shimon and his daughter, Marshall Castle, Shelley Zeitlin, Mark Franco, and Dr. Block, Bruce Eisenberg, Rabbi Kranz, Naftali Jablin, Moshe Lehman, Avram Schenkman, Ilya Shutman, Chaim Braun, Abe Arbach, Yehuda from Yerushalayim. David Helfgott is with us, and here we have Sandy Grunfeld, Sean Dror, good tavach, everyone. Our shir is dedicated Lili Nishmas, Esther Bas Yoni, Yaakov Chaim and Abba, Avram and Shmuel HaKayin, by Aaron Swade, Lili Nishmas Chana Bas Shmuel, and his sister Freda Bas Shaul, by Shimon Der for the Chedel Yadaf and Chedel Yisrael, by Mark Frankel, for Shalema, for Miriam Sarah Bas Sipora, Chana Bas Gittel Esner, by Berik Goldwasser, for Akar Satay, for what Hashem did for his family in the Chedel Yisrael, for my Shver, Avigdor Aya ben Rivka, for Meir ben Chayesara and Yehuda Cyril Bas Miriam. They should have a refuah shalema b'sech Shachar Yisrael. We are holding on the bottom of Daf Samach Amid Beis as we do the best thing that Yidden could do for the situation in Eretz Yisrael, and that's to learn Torah. Torah is the best protection overall for our brothers and sisters in harm's way. We are holding on the bottom line, Gabe Hektish Tanan. Now, the din is that if, let's say, Irving is Makdish a field, an ancestral field, and he wants to redeem it. Now, it comes back to him at Yovel. So there's a fixed price that for every area that you could plant a chaymer of sa'irim, a chaymer of barley seed, which is an area of a base kur, which is 75,000 square amas, he has to pay 50 shekel if it's in the beginning of the yovel. And then he prorates it if it's later in the Yovel, because then he doesn't have to pay that much because he's getting it back at Yovel. So he deducts how many years there are. Now, our Gemara is not going to get into the arithmetic. Our Gemara is going to get into what happens if in the field there are ravines, like ditches, 10 amas deep, or rocks 10 amas high. Does that count in the configuration of the area of the base kur? So the Gemara says, Gabi Hektish Tanan, as we start the top of Samach Aleph Amad Aleph, Gabi Hektish Tanan, we learn to be Mekayim the mitzvah Dibar Tabam Lasais Nachas Ruach Liyotzreinu, Hamakdish Sodeyu B'Shas HaYovel. If Irving dedicates his field during the Yovel, Noisin Bezerah Chaymer Sa'irim, he gives for the area of a Chaymer Sa'irim, where you could plant a Chaymer of Sa'irim, which is a base kur, the area of a base kur, Chamishim Shekel Kesef. That, in other words, it's not according to its real estate value, but it's according to this Torah given value. If there are clefts in the ground, deep 10 tvachim, or rocks high 10 tvachim, it doesn't count towards the base kur. Now, he would have to redeem that, but those clefts and those rocks, he would redeem only according to market value. It doesn't go into the share of the base kur. Pachas mekan, but if it's less than 10 tvachim deep, or less than 10 tvachim high, I said tvachim, less than 10 tvachim high, then nimdad anymore. We'll see it becomes tuffle to the field, it becomes a part of the field, and it's measured with it into the amount of the base kur. So now the Gemara says, "Va'avina," but the Gemara wonders, "Nehei de bahadi ara loy kachu." Even if you'll say that together with the land, it's not sanctified as one entity with the land, but nikdashu ba'apei nafshayu, it should be sanctified on its own, and you should measure it on its own and use prorated the share of a base kur. So, if, for example, if it's a 50th of a base kur, you should have to give a 50th of the 50 shkalim, etc. The chitema, maybe you'll say kama d'lo have a base kur, that if it doesn't amount to a base kur, loy chashiv, it's not considered in the Torah's formula. But for a minute, we learned not that way. Sada, it says in the field, Sada matamul leimer. Why does it add a field? It should just say an area of a chaymer sa'irim. Why does it say Sada? Lefisha nema zera chaymer sa'irim b'chamishim, that the area of a base kur where you could plant a chaymer of barley seed is 50. Ainli ela shekdish binyan hazeh. I only know if you makdish this amount. Minayin l'rabas lesech, if you only makdish a lesech, which is a half a kur, or the chatzi lesech, a quarter of a kur, or a sa, which is a 30th of a kur, or tarkav. Tarkav is trei v'kav, that's 3 kav, which is a half a sa, or the chatzi tarkav, or 1.5 kav, va'afilu roiva, or even a quarter of a kav. Minayin, that we have to evaluate it according to the standard of 50 shekel for a kur, so we do it according to that proportionately. Talmud Leimer Sada Mikol Makom. So the Gemara says, Amar Mar Ukvar Ba'achama, here we're talking about cleft of rock that is not plantable because it's full with water. Here we're talking about clefts that are full with water. And we know that because it says similar to slaim that are high 10 tefachim. You can't plant on rock. Says the Gemara, if that's the case, then afilu pachis mikei nami. Then why do you count it if it's less than 10 tefachim? It's full with water, it's not plantable. Says the Gemara, less than 10 tefachim is considered part of the field. Hanin nagone da'ara mikru. These are like the puddles of the land. It's considered tuffle to the field and part of the field. And the rocks also, if they're not high 10 tefachim, they're shidra da'ara mikru. They're considered like the spine of the land. Now, what's the din? Not by hektish. What's the din with a sail? This is interesting. I'm sitting here and we have 3 people waiting to get on. Okay, welcome in Philippe, welcome in Mo, and welcome in Gedalia, and David Gestetner. We are only shy 17 people to Marshall's promised land. It's really, really interesting. So if we had over here back Shalom Fogel, and we're getting close, Marshall. You know, you really should take off a day from work. You know. I'm
going to celebrate this.
Yeah.
He needs a new lasso.
Yeah. Okay. So the Gemara now says Gabei Mecher. What's the din with a sale? So here I sell to Gedalia a kur of land. Can I count the nekaim and the slum? So Gabi Mecher Tanan ha'omer lechaveira. I tell Gedalia, who's a friend of mine, ha'omer lechaveira base kur afarani meichalach. I'm selling you a base kur of field. Va'yisham nekam amukim asar tvachim. And there are clefts that are deep 10 tvachim. Oislam gavayim asar tvachim. Ein nimdad anymore. It's not measured with it. Pachas mikan nimdad anymore. Less than that, we said that's tuffle to the land, and it's counted. But here the Gemara says a big chiddush. In this case, Gedalia could say, I'm not taking the clefts, even if it's not full with water, even if it's plantable. Even if it's not full with water. My timer, what's the reason? Gedalia is not willing to pay for a field, and it's going to be like 2 or 3 parts. He's going to have to plant separately down deep 10 tfachim. He's going to have to plant separately up 10 tfachim. He's not interested in doing that. So now, hachamai, what happens if he says to the woman, I mekadesh you with a kur of offer, with a base kur of offer? Can he count the clefts that are not full with water? Do we say lahektish medaminallah, that over there it's not counted if it's full with water? Or we count it like a sale, that he can't even count, you can't even count if it's not full with water. Says the Gemara, mistaver lahektish medaminallah. It's mistaver that we compare it to hektish, and you only can't count it if it's full with water. But if it's not full with water, he could say, take it. You're worried about the fact that it's going to be hard to plant that which is lower and that which is higher. He says, don't worry, I'll take care of that. I will take the trouble, vizarana, and I'll plant it in the different places, and bring you the yield. And therefore, it's good by Kiddushin, as long as it doesn't have water in it. As we welcome in Richard Rosenzweig. Richard is very important to come on the Zoom, because Marshall is very thirsty. So, he wants to see you on the Zoom so he can count you. He's looking for just 16 more people to the promised land. Okay. Marshall, it really would make sense to take out some advertising. And by the way, I didn't get a chance to welcome Berish Gesseman, who is the Lone Ranger over here tonight, holding down the fort in the Agudas Yisrael Be'ezev.
Tell him to log in on Zoom, too.
Oh, here we have Richard Rosenzweig. Look at that. He's coming. At least you have one friend in the world. It's really interesting. I'm surprised.
Thanks, Richard. I'm after yours.
Yeah.
I did it for Marshall.
I'm confused, by the land in the Kaddish Anisha, it's worth the proof that.
Yeah, I got stuck drinking Canadian.
No, not if he makes it tonight that it's a base kur. You have to, if he says a base kur, it has to be a base kur. Yeah. All right, now we're holding by the next Mishnah. This is a Shas idea. All over Shas, Rameir says a condition is not valid unless it's kitnai, it's a Tanai Kafel. A Tanai Kafel means you have to say it clear. If Marshall gets 50, he gets bourbon. If he doesn't get 50, he gets nothing. That's a Tanai Kafel, right? Now, the Rabbanan hold it's enough to say, if Marshall gets 50 people, he gets bourbon. We understand that if he doesn't get it, he doesn't. Rameir says you have to make it Tanai Kafel. You have to make it double. He learns it out because when we went to attack Eretz Yisrael, the Ruvain, Gad, and Chatzi Shevet Menashe wanted the land on the Transjordan, the land of Gilad, the land of Sichon and Og, because they had a lot of cattle and there was a lot of pasture land there. So Moshe Rabbeinu made a Tanai Kafel. He said, if you go and battle with your brothers, then you will get the land in the Transjordan. If you don't go, you won't get. So from the fact that there was a Tanai Kafel over there, Rameir says all over Shas, you need to have a Tanai Kafel. Let's see the Mishnah inside. Rameir Eimer called Tanai she'ena k'Tanai b'nei Gad b'nei Ruvain. Any Tanai that's not said both ways, both sides of the coin, Einoi Tanai. It's not a valid condition. Shenemar v'yomer aleihem, Moshe Rabbeinu told them, Im yavru b'nei Gad b'nei Ruvain, if they pass, they'll get it. V'ksiv im lo yavru chalutzim, if you don't go armed, then you won't get it. Reb Chanina ben Gamliel argues. Reb Chanina ben Gamliel says we don't see from there that you need all over the place a doubled condition. There, it was to teach you specifically a Chiddush. Reb Chanina ben Gamliel, over there it was needed to say, Shel Malay Kain, because if it didn't say that if you don't go, you won't get the Transjordan, but you will get in Eretz Yisrael proper, I might think that if they don't go, then they broke their word, they'd be penalized, they won't get anything. I might think Shemali Kain Yesh Mamash B'Shafilu Beretz Canaan Lo Yidkalu. They won't even get in Eretz Yisrael proper. So therefore it has to say that if you don't go, you won't get in the Transjordan, but you will get V'Noichazu B'Seichechem. So therefore, that's why it's necessary, and not to teach you that all over you need a Tanai Kafel. So the Gemara says right away, Shaper Kamalei Rab Chanina ben Gamliel Rab Meir. Rab Chanina ben Gamliel answered very well to Rab Meir. Amalach Rab Meir, so Rab Meir says, yeah, but it says extra words. Isol Kedaitach Lavla Tanai Kafelu Da'asa, if it's not coming to tell us that we need a condition that goes both ways, that spells out both sides, then lichtayv v'imlo yavru, if you don't cross, v'noichazu b'seichechem, then you will inherit only in the midst. Be'eretz Canaan lama. Why does it have to say Eretz Canaan? It just should say v'noichazu b'seichechem, and then we would know that they'll get in Eretz Yisrael proper. Why does it have to say Eretz Canaan? That must be Shma Mino L'Tnai Kafelu Da'asa. Now, what does Reb Chanina ben Gamliel do with that retort? And I can't tell you, Rabbi Yisai, how it fills my heart to see all of you here. It really, it's first of all, it's a great way to start the week. It's absolutely a great way to start the week. It's an absolutely great thing to do for our brethren in Eretz Yisrael and for our own safety. So Reb Chanina ben Gamliel says as follows. Reb Chanina ben Gamliel, Eloi Kosev Rachmana be'eretz Canaan, Hava Mina v'noichazu b'seichechem be'eretz Gilad. That what it means is they will divide and get 1/12 only in the Transjordan, but they'll be penalized that they won't get anything in Eretz Yisrael. Aval Eretz Canaan klal loy. And therefore it has to say, if you don't go, you just won't get your preferred request in the Transjordan, but you will divide in Eretz Yisrael. Rameir says it doesn't have to say that, because means in all of the territories. And therefore there would be no reason to say it only meant in the Transjordan. Is anywhere where you are. Now the next piece of Gemara is a little bit delicate. It's a little subtle, so we'll do it slowly. We're doing pretty good over here, Rabbi say. We're only on 18 minutes with all the chit chat. We're already into the second Amud, so we're doing good. By the way, I should tell everybody that pretty late on Erev Shabbos, I did the shir for the Shabbos Bereshis table. So that shir is on TorahAnytime.com and on YouTube. It's very enjoyable. It's about 25 minutes, so you should catch that. Tanya, Amar Rebbe Chanina ben Gamliel. I want to say how I look at this, that it's not coming to tell me tonight kafel. La'adam, let's say a person by the name of Yaakov. He had 3 children, Reuven, Shimon, and Levi. If you catch the drift, you know how I'm making that up. But, Marshall, you got it. Yaakov, Reuven, Shimon, and Levi, you know? So I think he chopped it. Yeah. Now, says the Gemara, Tanya, I'm Reb Chanina ben Gamliel. What is this compared to? La'adam she'er machalik nechasav lebanav. Yaakov was giving and tzitailing, he was dividing his property to his children. Amar ploni b'ni yeresh sada plainis. Ruvain gets field A. O ploni b'ni and Shimon yeresh sada plain gets field B. O ploni b'ni and Levi, if he see field C is a superior field. So Pliny B'ni Yitain Masayim Zuz, if he kicks back to the estate 200 Zuz, then V'yirish Sada Plainis. Then he gets field C. V'im Lo Yitain, but if he doesn't, then Yirish Im Achiv B'shar Nechasa. Then he'll divide with his brothers in the other two fields, and we assume that the field C, they'll all three divide equally. Now, mi gairim leirishim achav b'shar nechasim. What allows him to get a share in field 1 and field 2? Only kfei garim lei. It's only because he said, if not, he'll divide with his brothers in the other property. So you see, it's not unnecessary. It was necessary because if not, we would say that if Levi doesn't kick in $200, then he'll divide field C between his three brothers, and in field A and B he has nothing. Says the Gemara, but v'halei damya mashal lamasnisim. This parable that Reb Chanina ben Gamliel offers is not similar to what he says in the Mishnah, because let's see what it says. Hasam Kitani. There it says that yesh b'mashma shafilu be'eretz Canaan lo yinchalu. There it's mashma that he would not get anything. The people of Ruvain, Gad, and Chatzi Shevet Menashe would not get in the Transjordan, and they wouldn't get in Eretz Yisrael. They wouldn't get anything. Here he says they won't get in the other two fields, but in this field he'll get a portion. Hasim kitani yesh b'mashma she'afilu be'eretz Canaan lo yinchalu. Not only won't Reuven, Gad, and Chatzi Shevet Canaan get in mainland Israel, but they won't get in Transjordan either. That's the afilu. Al makfeila le'eretz Gilad nami man. The double saying it helps that not only did they get a share in Eretz Yisrael, but they also get a share in the Transjordan. Otherwise, they would get nothing. What causes him to get in field 1 and 2? But otherwise, he still would get in field 3 a third. Alma kfeila, only the shar nechasim or the kamani. So the Gemara answers, it's really no difficulty because it's going in the stages of Rav Meir's statement. Like kasha, hamekame denemale Rav Meir v'noichazu. It's before Rav Meir said, well, it does need to say the other side, but it could have just said v'noichazu b'seichachem. And v'noichazu b'seichachem will tell us that they get something. So Einochanami, before the v'noichazu, Reb Chanina ben Gamliel was saying, if it didn't say anything, then they wouldn't get anything. Like, that's the Lashon of Afilu Eretz Yisrael, not in Eretz Yisrael, and not in the Transjordan. But Halabasar the name of Rameir v'noichazu. After Rameir said v'noichazu, then he says, okay, then we would know that they get a share in the Transjordan, but we don't know that they get a share in the rest of the property. And that's the similarity to the three brothers, where we said if he didn't say that you share with your brothers in the other two fields, we would only know that they get a share in the third. Levi gets a share in the third field. We wouldn't know that he gets a share in the first two fields. And here also, if it didn't say Be'eretz Canaan, we would know that they get a share in the Transjordan, but we wouldn't know that they get anything in Eretz Yisrael. That's why it has to say V'neichazu b'seichachem be'eretz Canaan. Any questions on this before I go further?
Yes, Rabbi. If we're saying there has to be a stipulation, then why is there no reference to the third parcel if he doesn't pay the 200 Jews?
Because that would be, since nothing was awarded to any of the brothers from the third field, so then that's obvious it goes to all three of them.
It's obvious that it's a third. Okay.
Right. Now, I just want to tell you that was the hard piece of Gemara for tonight. Now the Gemara is going to get much easier, so you could sit back and enjoy the learning, as we have 35 Zoomers with us this evening, and Ed Smith has joined us. So,
Rabbi, do you mind if I ask you a very general question on Kiddushin?
No, not now.
Okay.
Sorry.
I just had to clarify something.
Now,
Thank you.
when we have two blot to do, the Olam is already on what's called Shpilkis. So
Okay.
now,
Didn't he go? Fine.
so now says the Gemara, Bishloim al Reb Meir, Hainu d'Chsiv, and as Yitzi said from this week's Parsha, that Hashem warned Kayin, Im Teitiv, if you're good, Se'es. The Im Loi Teitiv, if you're not good, L'Pesach Chatas Reivis. Sin crouches by the door. So you see, it says it both ways. If you're good, then you'll be elevated. If you're not good, sin crouches by the door. So, by the way, the simple meaning of imtative is to learn Torah, because Torah ain't Torah vela Torah. Shnema kilekach Torah nasati lochem Torah yal tazayvu. So imtative, if you do Torah, you'll be able to battle the Yetzer Hara. But if not, sin crouches by the door. So the Gemara now says, El Reb Chanina, but if according to Reb Chanina, Lamali, why do you have to say it both ways? So Reb Chanina will say simple. So imtative, if you do good, then Iger, you'll get reward. Im loitative, if you don't do good, lo Igra v'loidina, you won't get reward, and you won't be punished either. Kamash Malan, no. In other words, the Torah is teaching us there's no parif. There's no parif. You're good, fine. If you're not good, then it's trouble city. The Yetzer Hara is waiting to pounce. Says the Gemara, the same thing, Bishleim l'Reb Meir, Hainu d'Chsiv. If you remember, Avram told Eliezer that he makes an oath that he shouldn't take he shouldn't take a girl from anywhere but his family. If the girl doesn't want to go, and we'll see the family doesn't want to give her, then oz tinoka me'elasi. So l'chayra, it should be enough to say that you should swear that you won't give to any other family. So only to my family. Why do you have to say the other way? And if she doesn't want, and the family doesn't want, then you'll be free from the oath. Ella l'Rebbi Chanina ben Gamliel says the Gemara, right, because he holds you need a Tanai Kafel. Ella Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel lamali. Why do I need to say the other side of the coin? So the Gemara says itzrich solkadai techamina heicha denicha lo l'dida, that if she's agreeable to come, v'loy nicha le l'didu, but they're not agreeable to give her, I might think you should take her against their will. Maisi bal kerchai. Kamash Malan, that no, they should give their agreement. So that you need the other side to teach us this. By the way, that's a big chiddush. That if they wouldn't have got the approval of Lavan, Besuel had died. Maybe that's why he had to die. But if he wouldn't have got the approval, he wouldn't have been able to take her. So then the Gemara says, so then why does it have to add im loy soiva isha lamali if the woman doesn't want? So this also comes to tell me a chiddush, that if the family was agreeable, but the girl didn't want to come, you should also not take her. It's just so if the family wants it, she doesn't want it, I might think naisei bal karcha. I might think bring her against her will. Kamash malan. Now, Bishlam el Rameir, I know the chsiv imbechul kaisai say leichu. If you go on my statutes, then I'll give you everything good. V'imechul kaisai tim asu. But if you detest my statutes, then you'll have bad. It's Tanai Kafel. El Reb Chanina ben Gamliel Lamali. Again, the Gemara answers the same idea. It's if you follow my mitzvahs, bracha. If you reject my mitzvahs, you just won't get reward, but you won't get punishment either. Loi bracha v'loi klal. Therefore, it says Kamash Malan that if b'chukaisei timasu, we have the klalos of Parshas b'chukaisei, the first teichacha. Bishleim el Reb Meir, Hainu the Siv, im soivu ushematem, if you desire and listen, but im tamanu umarisim, if you refuse and you rebel, then there'll be punishment. Cherev tu'uklu. El Reb Chanina ben Gamliel, lamali, why do you have to say both sides? So again, the Gemara answers the same thing. Itzrich. So im tavu taiva. If you listen, you'll have good. V'im tamanu. If you refuse, loy taiva v'loy ra. There'll be parif. Kimash malan. No, if you refuse to listen, there'll be punishment. Now we're just going to change the channel over here as we get ready for the next blot.